Welcome to the Excelsior Health Podcast. This is the podcast for busy professionals and busy parents that are 40 plus who are looking to transform their health. Maybe right now you're dealing with weight gain, high stress, and a drop of self-confidence. And what you need help prioritizing is, hey, how do I train? How do I work out? What are the healthy habits that I need to incorporate into my life? And then what is the positive environment that I need to create so that I can get long-lasting results? I'm your host, Coach Cory Fernandez. This is my lovely co-host,
Coach Susie.
All right, guys. So today we got a good one. Today is going to be more of a tactical episode. So our style that we like to do, we love to do interviews. So we're going to interview many of our students. We're going to do our best to get experts in the field, to provide you guys great value in different ways that you can get results. But what we want to do is just share our coaching knowledge and just really tactical things that you guys can take and you can start implementing into your lifestyle. So today, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to be talking about strength training.
All right. So kind of like what we titled the episode is, are you training right? And specifically, what should the busy professional do when it comes to their workouts, their training routine? All right. So for example, if you had to just kind of list off a couple like styles of training, what would you say our typical people are doing out there right now?
Besides strength training, I would say people are doing, I guess you would say circuit training.
Okay, so yeah.
Is different stations and they're just going from one to another for a certain period of time.
Mm-hmm. So high intensity cardio.
Cycling.
Yep.
People do cycling as a workout. People do Pilates.
Yep. Pilates is like super popping right now.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do Pilates, yeah.
Hot yoga. Or yoga, any type of studio classes. I don't think CrossFit is really that popular right now. Do you think so?
It's still popular, but CrossFit is kind of like, you could say it's its own thing. It's a combination of strength training, gymnastics, cardio. It's like kind of all encompassing. One though that I think is super popular is running.
Yeah.
Right? People run, like that's part of their training is they just run outside.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, those are all different examples. We talked about strength training, yoga, Pilates, high intensity HIIT. They're all different styles of what people should do. Today, what we want you guys to walk away from is what's the best style that I should be prioritizing and how should effective workout look like for me as a busy professional who's maybe in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s, who wants to basically lose fat, build muscle, and we want to feel good. All right. So what would you say, Susie, as a coach, what do you think is the most effective out of all the ones that we listed for that person to prioritize?
I think for longevity and just for feeling strong, especially for your muscle as you age, is definitely strength training. Good.
But why do you say that, like strength training? Like why strength training over running?
So strength training over running, because running is something that you should not do if your goal is to lose weight or lose body fat or build muscle. If anything, is doing the opposite. But it's a lot of pounding and deteriorating on your muscles that I don't think is the proper thing for someone whose goals are to lose weight.
So yeah, one thing that I say a lot of times our clients will be asking, hey coach, should I start running outside? Should I do this? One kind of phrase that I say is train, right? Get in shape. Mm-hmm. Don't run to get in shape. So once you've transformed and you've lost the pounds of fat and you've built a certain amount of muscle on your body, it's way easier to start running and prepping for a long distance running or doing a marathon. A lot of people think, especially because of like Nike in the 70s and 80s, it's like, man, I got to run if I'm going to get into shape. Nothing wrong with running. You've done marathons before.
Yeah.
But in terms of longevity, muscle mass, strength training is going to be your number one way. So let's talk about how to build an effective kind of workout, right? So when it comes to the workout you're doing, and it's, we've already decided that strength training is going to be your best option because it's most effective for building muscle. It's going to build your metabolism so you burn more calories where you're at rest. All these things that I'm sure you guys have heard.
Mm-hmm.
But now what I want you to do is look at the workout you're currently doing. Does it follow these things that we're going to be basically talking about today? So frequency of workouts during the week. How much would you recommend would be ideal for someone who is going to be doing strength training?
Ideally, typically 3 to 4 times a week is the ideal. But for someone who's just getting started, even 2 days of strength training is good. And as you progress and you see improvement in your mobility and your strength, you could definitely add in that 3rd day. And then, 4 days for life is our model here for you to see the most results.
Yeah. So again, unpacking that, I'm a beginner. I've never worked out in my life. I'm terrified to touch weights. 2 days a week of real strength training can make a big impact for you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Will it help you get like transformational results and your body's completely different? Probably not. But can you relieve stress? Can you get stronger? Can you start protecting your bones and strengthening your ligaments and just overall preparing yourself for life? Yes, you can make big changes. Like you were saying, 3 times a week is probably the sweet spot for most people if you're doing strength training. And then 4 times a week, it's a little bit more volume. So yes, you're going to be more sore. You need to prioritize more recovery from your workouts. Other things that we believe too is like we're not against any of the things that we said, yoga, running, any of those things. We just think if you had to choose what's the most effective, strength training is going to give you the best bang for your buck. So our ideal structure is like 3 days of strength training, 1 day of what we would call like high intensity cardio. So like what would be an example of high intensity cardio that you would prioritize?
Sprinting, moving fast, getting the heart rate elevated, pushing yourself where you're huffing and puffing. So one of our workouts that we do here is called the Hurricane, and it's mainly focused on just speed.
And if you can't sprint, like sprinting for someone who's overweight, someone who hasn't, who's really deconditioned, that's not where you're going to start.
Mm-hmm.
But it could literally be doing quick feet on the spot. It could be high knees, even being on an assault bike or just a regular bike, and you're changing how fast you can. It's just really getting your heart rate high for a certain period and then bringing it back down.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a method that we think is really beneficial, is like 3 strength days, 1 in our program, we say 1 cardio day. But by cardio, we're not talking about long distance. We're talking about more high intensity.
Like fast explosives.
Yeah. And then even like, again, sprinkling in somewhere if somebody is doing mobility, whether that's in the form of yoga or that's just static stretching, those would be good things. And getting a little bit off topic, incorporating in there too is walking.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's
the cardio. Yeah.
for overall just movement wise. All right. So now what should the workout look like? Let's kind of go more deeper into the weeds for that. So we just said the frequency, right? So we want you guys to be thinking, hey, I'm going to strength train anywhere from 2, 3, 4 days a week. That's for most people is phenomenal. Now, what should the layout of the workout be? What are some of the movements that we should be doing? So for you, what would you say as a coach? What are like fundamental movements that people should be prioritizing?
Like, are you talking about the specific workout, like full body, upper body?
No, like the movements.
Oh, the
like
movements?
movement patterns.
So we definitely have like a squat in there, a hinge in there, a push, a pull, and then we do lots of carries to build a strength. And then, like we mentioned with our cardio, is we do focus on sprinting as an extra component of strength. Because you're going fast. So the faster you go, you're building the strength. You're not going for a long period distance.
So for example, like look at your workouts right now. Do those 6 patterns seem familiar to you? Some of you guys might not know if you're doing a hinge or a carry, but those are how you want to design an effective strength workout. There's going to be squats in there, right? There's going to be hinges. There's going to be pushing movements, pulling movements, carrying. And then for some people where it's it fits is they're going to have sprints in there as well.
So what if someone doesn't know, like, can you give like 3 examples of what is a push exercise?
Yeah, so a push exercise, like some of the most popular ones, a push-up. In our program, push-up is one of the most important things that we get people to do. But now if you're adding on weight, right, you're adding resistance. Now we're talking about barbell bench press. That's a very popular and fundamental one. You can do dumbbell bench press, right? These are things that are going to be targeting your chest, your triceps. But now if you're thinking vertical pushes, now we could be talking about kettlebell overhead press, barbell overhead press. The list goes on. But those are some of the exercises that fall under that. Now, for pulls, what would be your favorite pull patterns?
I love my chin-ups.
She's pretty good at chin-ups.
I do love my chin-ups. So that's a good pull. Another one is I do like rows. So like...
Fun fact, just so you guys know, the percentage of women over 18 that can do a real strict chin-up
is?
Guess for a second. Take your guesses. Let's see what you come up with.
Can I tell them?
Oh.
A 0.
Yep. It's
0%.
like 0.8 something percent.
It doesn't meet less than 1%.
Less than 1%.
Yeah.
Of women over the age of 18 can do a strict chin-up. So that's why, again, guys, we say strength training is so effective and it's so powerful. There's so few people that do it, but also get the benefits from it because they just don't do it long enough or consistent enough, right? So anyways, tangent there, but pulling motions, you said chin up, rows, curls.
I do like the cable machine a lot to do some different type of pull moves.
Right, so those are all examples, guys, of like pulling. Again, different things that just thinking of here that we don't want to take too long. Squats, you do goblet squats. Lunges would fall under squats. Anything that's kind of knee dominant. And then hinges, which this is probably what people train the least, because most people, we think about the front. We don't really think about the back.
Oh, I like the back.
That's what she said.
It's RDLs,
deadlifts,
kickstand
RDLs, those
stability ball curls.
Yeah, just think about training like the glutes, even like hip thrusts would be somewhat in that hinge kind of range. And then when we say carries, it's typically just carrying shit. Like you're literally carrying heavy kettlebells. Some people carry trap bars. This is great for form, but it's great for posture. It's great for grip strength.
Good for stability.
Right? We use carrying a lot to target our core. Right. So those are all things that you want to be having throughout your workouts. Whether you're doing 2 workouts, 3 workouts or 4 strength workouts in a week. All right. Now, the length of time, so this is one that I think a lot of people have a misconception on.
Yeah.
How long do you recommend the busy professional spends in the gym? In a workout, I guess.
So we definitely want to train smarter, not harder. So besides the warm-up, because we like to do like about a 10-minute warm-up to prevent any injuries, but like 45 to 75 minutes most would be a good, effective, efficient workout for strength. And that includes, your rest periods in between. Yeah,
I would, even including a warm-up, like a dynamic warm-up where you're doing, mobility moves, you're doing body weight exercises, band stuff. I would really put it from 45 minutes, like including the warm-up, to 75. I think that's ideal for the busy professional. Now, I've done workouts in the past that I've been 90 minutes. I've been, maybe close to 2 hours. But that's, I would say, more for like advanced individuals that are maybe doing powerlifting, could be bodybuilding, could be other athlete-specific stuff. But most of the time, even those type of people that are considered more advanced, you're looking at 75 minutes. Like if you're doing it the right way for your workouts.
I remember I used to be at the gym for like 2.5 hours, but none of it was strength at all. It was just cardio machines.
Right. Now, the other side of things is like in this 75 minutes, this is a misconception I think people have, is they think when they do working out, they have to be going nonstop. It's like this exercise, okay, 10 seconds, this one, then this one, then this one. What that becomes, it becomes cardio.
Yeah.
So rest is an important part of lifting weights, of strength training. So sometimes when people come to our program and we coach them, in the beginning when they're learning their form, they're like thinking like, okay, how can, like, when do I go? When do I go? And we're like, no, you got to rest.
Yeah.
You're going to rest 3 minutes. You're going to rest 2 minutes. You're going to rest 1 minute. That's typically, those are the different ranges that we do.
Yeah.
So that's something that people got to understand. And the way you know you're training properly is when you push yourself in a set, right? So let's just say it's bench press with dumbbells and it says do 10 reps. But when you do those 10 reps, and if you feel like you can go 20 seconds later right away, you're not lifting heavy enough.
Yeah.
You should be wanting 2-minute rest because you're like tired from what you just did. That's how you're training at a right intensity.
Yeah.
All right. So a couple other things. So we got timing. Now, the amount of exercises, that's another one where I see people make a lot of mistakes, is they're just going through exercise to exercise and sometimes repeating similar exercises.
Mm-hmm.
So how many exercises would you recommend that someone have structured in their workout?
For their compound lift, 4 to 6 is.
No, I'm not talking about sets. I'm talking about how many exercises in the workout.
Yeah, 4 to 6. 4 to 6 in the workout is what I would recommend.
Why did you talk about compound lift?
Oh, sorry. I mean 4 to 6 moves, different exercise.
Okay.
Yeah, is what I meant.
Okay, so 4 to 6 exercises. And so if you're looking at your workouts and you got like 9 different exercises, that's probably too much, man. You're not putting enough quality in.
Yeah, the quality, or you're just doing 2 different, like 2 of the same moves.
Repetitive stuff.
Targeting the same thing.
Yeah, so for example, you don't need, it's about the quality and the intensity. So you don't need to do, especially as a busy professional, like you don't need to do barbell bench press, then dumbbell bench press, and then push-ups, and then flies all in one workout. It's like, it's called exercise like redundancy, like you're overkilling it.
Mm-hmm.
So effective strength training workout for most people that want to get it done within 75 minutes, you're looking at 4 to 6 exercises. That's more than enough. So a lot of times for us with our lower body sessions, we just do 4.
Yeah, and that's more than enough. And sometimes people still take 75 minutes because you're loading and you're pushing and you're resting, which is good. That's what you need.
And I would say probably more with upper body, you could definitely do more than 4 because you're getting more movements in.
Yeah.
But most upper body workouts are going to be about 5 to 6 exercises would be pretty good. All right. So that's one thing you want to do is make a look if, you know, your trainer that you're working with right now or your workouts that you're grabbing off YouTube, if you got like 10 exercise in there, you're doing too much, right? You can probably need to focus that, shrink that down to 4 to 6 key movements, right? So now in the workout, going over a couple things, how should you choose the movements? You mentioned a word that I think that's what you're kind of getting excited to talk about was compound lifts.
Yeah.
So what are compound lifts? Give a little bit of insight about that.
The compound lift is more focusing on strength because you're doing a move that's targeting more than one muscle.
Yeah, so you're using multiple muscles throughout the exercise. So I'll give you an example. You know, some of our favorite ones are, what's your favorite compound lift?
I would say squat.
So a squat, right? When you're doing a big, whether it's barbell back squat or you're doing a goblet one, your core is engaged, your upper body's engaged, your quads, your hamstrings, multiple muscle groups at once. So that's a compound movement. Isolation movement, which is still good, and you're going to have this in your workout, might be bicep curls. And when I'm doing bicep curls, there's not many other muscles that are really working besides the bicep. So you want to prioritize, if you want to get the most out of your strength workout, is you want to have compound movements included. So you should see exercises like the deadlift, squats, overhead presses, bench presses, rows. These are all these movements that give you the most bang for your buck. And as Susie was saying, is typically when you want these programmed, you want these in the beginning of the workout, you know, for the most part. So for us in our program, if, you know, we like to use barbells, we use our barbells typically in part A. And that's what we would consider strength. So When we're doing strength or power, what's the amount of reps that typically people are going to do?
For part A?
For part A, for strength and power.
Typically like 5 reps, 3 to 5 reps.
Yeah. So 3 to 5 reps as your first exercise is a good kind of, I guess, template to follow to make sure you're training power and strength. So for example, if we're just building a workout right now, Susie said squats. Part A, barbell back squat.
Yeah.
3 to 5 reps. And then what would be the amount of sets that you would put in that?
If it's a part A, like what we typically do is we don't go heavy right away. Like we would do at least 2 warm-up sets to warm up our body, focus on the form, and then build up from there.
Yeah, so warm-ups is something that's very important, especially when you're doing compound lifts. So 1 to 2 warm-up sets, and then we're going to focus on 3 challenging sets. Even within those challenging sets, we call it working sets. That's where the intensity is high. You can still increase the weight during there, but that's the intensity of the lift in there. Yeah. So that's part A. And then, hey, afterwards, what you want to start doing is what we call hypertrophy. So the rep range for a lot of people, that's probably the best, is for most people, it's anywhere from like 8 to 12 reps. My favorite number personally to program is 10. 10 is like not too much, not too little. It's great for building muscle, that rep range. Yeah. So that's a big part, is like 8 to 12, even like 8 to 15 reps. That's a really, really good rep range for most people to prioritize. So if we're now at part B, we're looking at, again, usually bigger compound movements. Let's say we're doing a full body workout. Yeah. Now we're going to choose, we already did a squat. Yeah. Now we're going to do a push. So what would be a push move that you would use for dumbbells?
Dumbbell bench press.
All right. So we have barbell back squat. We have 3 to 5 reps. We have a dumbbell bench press. How many reps would you do for that?
I would do 8 to 10.
8 to 10 reps. And then now we're going to maybe superset that, which a superset just means doing an exercise and then doing a different move right after that. And by right after that, that might mean 10 seconds later. What we like to do is called a delayed superset, where you might give rest of 60 seconds to 90 seconds between the 2 different exercises. So one that I would say that I love, in this situation, would be like a seated row. So a nice cable row. Now we're hitting the back. That's a great superset.
And then that was the opposite. Like you did a push and now you're doing a pull.
Yeah. And the rep range, let's say we do it for 12 reps. Right? That's going to be great. So now we're building that I would say is 3 sets. And now with these 3 sets, hey, you want to be training at a high intensity. So when we say high intensity, let's say 1 out of 10, what would you say, Susie, is like a threshold that people should be pushing to get to?
For their last set or like their first?
Like just second? In those working sets, like they got 3 sets, they're pushing, they want to figure out like what's, is it 5 out of 10 I should be at? Is it 7? Is it 10?
I feel like 8 is a good number, where like the last 2 reps at the end of your exercise, like it was a good struggle where you're feeling and you had to fight for it, but you could still complete it.
Good. And that's a question that we say to people a lot, is like, hey, 1 out of 10, how did that feel? And our goal as a coach is trying to get you to 8 out of 10 intensity with exceptional good form. 10 out of 10, there's a time and a place for it. Like sometimes when we do tests, for most people, you're not going to get 10 out of 10, because when you go 10 out of 10, it's like you might need like 10-minute rest. Like you're just shot from doing that. You went all out. So that's a really good thing, that what you said is the goal when you're doing a set is you want to get 1 to 2 reps near failure. And then when you're judging yourself, it's like, yeah, man, that was an 8 out of 10 intensity. Yeah. That was tough. A lot of newer people, when they're starting out, we might keep them at like a 7, 6 out of 10 intensity, because
form,
just a little bit too much of intensity might ruin their workout. Yeah. Right? Their heart rate gets too high. They're not used to pushing at that, or their form folds too quickly.
Yeah, and they're just starting, so we want to make sure they come back the next day too.
Yeah, that too. And then, so hey, finishing up, like the last, we already kind of built a little bit of the workout here. The last section, usually for us, we like to do a superset. It doesn't have to do a superset. You can easily do exercises completely by themselves. But for the superset at the end, we like to do more higher reps. So I would call this more like muscular endurance. So this is usually things that are like 15 reps or above. So, for us, that might be doing maxing out on push-ups. For someone who's doing lower body, they might be doing 20 reps of walking lunges, which shoots your heart rate up.
Yeah.
So it's something that, the way I would almost describe it, it's almost like a burn feeling.
Yeah.
Where the phase we just talked about above that, that's more what we would call build.
Yeah.
And then in the beginning, those big compound movements, that's more strength and power. So that's like a good overview, I think, hopefully that people can take away. I don't know if we're missing anything.
Structure. I would say how about the tempo? Because sometimes people go super fast where my model is always slow to grow.
So tempo means how fast you do an exercise. That is really, really important with strength training. So the way that we recommend our people do it is on the concentric part of the lift, which just means, think about the hard part. So if I'm doing curls, when I'm trying to get that weight up, the shortening of the muscles, I'm going to be aggressive when I'm lifting that. So I'm going to be aggressive, but then on the eccentric, which means the lowering, I'm going to be under control.
Yeah.
So I like a tempo of hey, 1 second up and then 2 to 3 seconds down under control. This will help you as someone who's new to strength training, learn the exercise, master the form, but then also be able to keep good form while the weight keeps going up. Where if you just go too fast, it's just one quick movement from being in the wrong direction where you could put yourself at risk of getting hurt.
Yes.
Last thing that I want to say, I think we covered a lot of things. It's just your rest. I know I talked about it a little bit at the top, is what would be standard rest ratios is hey, if I'm doing strength or power in the beginning, 3-minute rest is really, really important for you to actually see yourself lift heavier. So that might be part A, do a set, 3-minute rest. Even upwards to 5-minute rest on your last set is something that we do. But then now when we go to part B and we're doing that more hypertrophy, muscle building phase, 8 to 12 reps, we 90-second rest as a good amount between the exercises. And then at the end of the workout, we might have a shorter rest where it might, let's say we're doing, I feel like I keep saying the same exercises. Let's say we're doing tricep extension and we're doing bicep curls. So we're going to do those back to back. So it might be 12 tricep extensions, 12 curls, and then we're resting maybe a minute or 75 seconds. So it's definitely harder. You're not able to go as heavier, and you get a little bit of metabolic conditioning when it comes to that too. So I think that's a lot that we tapped into for today. Hopefully that gives you guys some understanding of how your workouts should look. If you have a coach right now that has you doing 10 different exercises, or every single time you come to the session, it's completely different.
You know what we didn't talk about? I guess, how long should you be following a program? Or
And I think
that's a different one.
No, you're right. That's the point I'm trying to say is if every time you come to a session and you're doing a different workout, you're not going to get better. So a good amount of time to stay on a specific workout program, I would say 4 to 6 weeks. For a lot of people, spending 6 weeks will probably be more beneficial. Problem is most people get bored. So for us, we keep it as a nice 4-week cycle, and then the workouts change. It's not that we're doing all crazy different exercises. It's just the combination of the workouts will change. All right. So, hey, as a busy professional, who's 40 plus, who looking to lose fat, build muscle, feel good, you definitely want to make strength training a priority, 2 to 3 times a week as your foundation. And the best way to maximize your workouts and your training is to have a coach. So if you are someone who's looking to invest in a coach, you want to be given the system that produces results. You want to train pain-free, and you want to be in an environment with other winning warriors or other busy professionals on the same path. Check out Training for Warrior Saga. That is our program that we're always trying to look for people to help, right? Any last thoughts, Susie?
No. I'm ready to lift some weights now.
Let's do it. So, hey, share this podcast episode. Anybody who you think would benefit from, tweaking up their workouts or getting specific direction, we always appreciate it. And this is, again, the Excelsior Health Podcast, and we'll see you guys soon. Beastin'.
Nice. Good job, guys.
All right, let's bang out a quickie.
That's what she said.